What is most likely causing Chris Bumstead's hair loss? What causes hair loss in enhanced athletes? And how do we stop it? So we know that hair loss is multifactorial. There's a lot of different things that could be causing it. And as far as bodybuilders go, we know that the main cause or most likely cause is going to be androgen use. Now, when we look at Chris Bumstead, I'm not going to straight out say that's why his hair loss is occurring. But as far as androgens go, it's not the androgens itself acutely causing the hair loss. It's the events after you take the androgens, after you take steroids, okay? So we know this because it doesn't happen every time you take androgens, all right? It's usually dose dependent and it depends on the person. And it's not just, the dose itself, but how quickly you reach said dose. So it's not just because you take, a gram of gear, it's how quickly you get to that gram. Do you start it all at once or do you titrate up? Because there are certain levels for different people when the hair loss occurs. Once you get to that level and break through that, if you titrate up, you can sort of prevent it. And I'll get into that in a minute. But the key there is always to titrate up 50 milligrams a week, 100 milligrams a week at the most if you're worried about hair loss. And even then, who's actually going to be titrating up that much? That's kind of a lot to be titrating up if you really think about it. So another reason we know it's multifactorial is because there's tons of drugs and supplements. This is a billion-dollar industry and no one's completely figured it out. There's tons of drugs and supplements that can help with hair loss, but no one's figured it out, right? And no one's going to admit that it's not just one thing. Everyone knows that there's multiple things, but when someone comes out with a drug, they're going to make you think that that's the one cause. So the first line of defense when it comes to androgens and bodybuilders is obviously the DHT. So you want to inhibit DHT with something like finasteride. So we know that Chris Bumstead has tried to get ahead of this issue by taking finasteride. He's admitted this on, I don't want to say admitted, but he's told that he's taken finasteride on several different podcasts. But if you know anything about androgens, you know that finasteride only mitigates hair loss by stopping the conversion to DHT. Now, this only happens from testosterone. Almost all other ones are not going to convert to DHT. So it's just stopping it with testosterone. So if he's taking any other androgens, that finasteride is not going to help if they are the cause, okay? Now, I'm going to repeat that one more time because a lot of people don't understand it. Finasteride does not help with other androgens because they do not reduce to DHT. Got to remember that when we're thinking about this and talking about it. Okay, the other line of defense besides finasteride and the DHT sort of line of thinking is, it's due to androgens. So one thing you can do is talk about the topical things that help with this, right? Topical applications, as in straight to the scalp. Finasteride, you can do that topically as well. Dutasteride, ketoconazole, the shampoos with that. Then of course there's the C17P, even spironolactone. That's one of my favorites. That works fantastic. Minoxidil and spironolactone are my personal favorites just because they do get the job done. And then, finally, and the one that might be part of Chris Bumstead's hair loss, you can sort of see some of the hair loss here in a lot of these pictures I'm showing. It's not drastic, but it's definitely coming quicker than he would like, I would think. So the last sort of line of defense is lifestyle that may cause oxidative stress, okay? Now, there's tons of other factors, but these are the main ones I think in his case we should talk about. Now, the problem with oxidative stress and hair loss is it's not like you just have a stressful day and your hair comes out, okay? And it's not like you just have a stressful month or you have one of the most stressful months of your life, okay? It's got to be like off the charts stress for this to happen. I'm talking like multiple things to where you're almost having like a breakdown, like a literal breakdown for it to cause hair loss, okay? So chances are a lifestyle change is not really going to make that big of a difference. And lifestyle change, diet, you can think it's going to make a difference, but diet's probably not going to make that big of a difference unless it's having a big impact on hormones, right? So diet, being less stressful, less anxious, taking some supplements that are over the counter. In all likelihood, that's not going to make a big change on hair loss. So when we look at Chris Bumstead, what's most likely causing his hair loss? It could be oxidative stress because one, the bodybuilding lifestyle in general is extremely tough on your body. Then of course he's got the kidney disease. That kidney disease is very serious and that's one that can cause some serious stress. Now I don't think that would explain why he's gotten such significant hair loss within like the last year or two. because he's had the bodybuilding stressors before. It was probably more stressful for him when he started bodybuilding than now, because he knows what he's doing now. And then same thing with the kidney disease. It seemed like he had a really stressful year there a couple of years ago, and now hopefully he's got it figured out. So when we think about that, what is the most likely cause of his hair loss? And I think anyone that's had some experience with this can probably take a pretty good guess what it is. And that's changes in his androgen protocol. Now, we have to use all the information we have at hand right now. And that is this. He's had the same coach his whole career. That's his brother-in-law, Ian, who I'm a huge fan of Ian as well. But now he's changed coaches. His new coach is Hani Rambod. Now, with a new coach, it doesn't mean Hani specifically caused this, but anytime you have a new coach, they're going to have new diet models. They're going to have new training models. And then, of course, they're going to have different androgen models. Now, might not be completely different, but the protocols could possibly be different, and I would suspect they are. Now, if he were to try a different steroid protocol with him and have different androgens, maybe it's ones he hasn't tried before. Maybe it's ones that are in higher dosages than he had before. Or like I said, at the beginning of the video, maybe he got to those higher dosages quicker. Because I've heard Ian talk in a lot of videos about titrating up with his doses. And I'm pretty sure that's something he likes to do. So he probably did it with Chris. And it would make sense to do it with Chris too. So considering his classic physique, he's got all these stressors going on with his health. You would want to titrate up to see what you're doing. So for me, if I were to guess what is causing his hair loss most likely, considering it's happening this year, considering he just changed coaches, the chances are, my guess would be it has to do with the fact that he progressed his androgens too quickly and probably did some androgens he hasn't had before. Now, based off of that, and if we were to investigate it, that would be my guess, most likely. And I'm not blaming Hani Rambod, I'm just saying that's probably what happened. But lastly, you have to ask yourself, does Chris Bumstead even care that he's losing his hair? Does he even care that it's receding? Probably not. I mean, let's be real here. Like, he is the king of the bodybuilding world right now. He's making bank. He's got a fiance that loves him. I mean, who gives a shit about your hair? I mean, he's bodybuilding, got it. Fiance, got it. Money, got it. Who cares about your hair? And I mean, really, does it matter? No, it's not like if he wasn't losing his hair, he would have something else awesome going on in his life. So he probably doesn't care. So given what we know, what do you think is the most likely cause of his hair loss accelerating within the last year? What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below to tell me what you think. And this is what I would do if I were him, if I wanted to try to figure out what it was. And it might not even work, but this is what I would do. 1, I would stop the androgens. And 2, I would start taking something like minoxidil to try to bring the hair back. Try to get the hair as full as you can, bring it back as much as you can. And then, just like an experiment, try what you were doing before slowly and see what's causing it to fall out. Obviously, if you bring the hair back and then you stop the minoxidil and you're just at a cruise dose of testosterone and your hair's starting to fall out again, then it's some other factors. It's genetic. It could be the DHT itself. If finasteride is not getting the job done, maybe you need to take more finasteride, So titrate up, see what's happening, see if the hair starts falling out once you start titrating up the dose. See if there's a certain level where you see it starting to happen. Now, a lot of people are going to blame it on specific androgens like Masteron, Creamable, DHT derivatives, I guess is the one people like to go with. That's not the case. That's just not how it works. Masteron, just because it's a DHT derivative does not mean it's DHT. Let me repeat. Masteron is not DHT. I've heard plenty of channels, even More Plates, More Dates is one on other podcasts and said out of his mouth, Masteron is DHT. It's not DHT, okay? You have to look at this from a lot of different angles. Once you start creeping up that androgen load, let's hypothetically say you have 300 milligrams of testosterone in your system and you're not losing your hair. Now, you could either do 2 things, okay, in this scenario. Take 300 more milligrams of testosterone, go up to 600, okay? That's your androgen load. Or take 300 more milligrams of Masteron, you get up to that 600. Okay, both scenarios, let's say your hair comes out. So is it the Masteron causing the hair loss or is it the androgen load itself? Okay, it's the androgen load itself. It's not the Masteron specifically acutely telling your hair to come out. It's all these downstream effects of the androgens. Okay, that's the way you have to look at it. Now, one thing I would say, this isn't really a plug because I'm not really making anything off this, even though I do have like a link to this, but this is the minoxidil that I've used. This website has the best ones that I've used. I feel like they're legit. I don't know. I've ordered from them multiple times. This is the 15% minoxidil. It's got a couple other things in here, as you can see, retinol, caffeine, and the 15% works phenomenal. I know there's studies where it says 15% over 5%, it's not going to matter. 5% is all you can get in the store, and I'm pretty sure that's all you can get legally prescribed to you. 15% is fantastic. And then, of course, here's the spironolactone that I was talking about. They have a cream. Now, this is also good for acne. Personally, I have really bad acne problems, whether I'm taking androgens or not. This has really helped with mine quite a bit, but it definitely helps with hair loss. And this is one of those, this website's really great too, because it goes into detail of how these work. And then, of course, here's all the different options. If you want something with finasteride in it, dutasteride in it, retinol, retinoic acid, caffeine. That's awesome. Like, those are the different ones you can use. All right, so you can go to my page. This is my personal page, and go to this link. Click on it, and it'll take you to the website. Shameless plug. So yeah, tell me what you guys think. What is causing Chris Bumstead's hair loss, and what kind of situations have you guys came across with hair loss yourself and taking androgens? What do you think? Because if you really dove into it, you'll see that this is not just a one thing fits all type of deal. There's so many things that could be causing the hair loss. Let me know what you think.